My name is Alexei. I have Sophia one more time on this channel to actually watch a video of Daryl, and I wonder uh, if he actually have problems, so actually he got it right. So I'm gonna share a screen right now, and we're gonna watch a video about what is the middle voice in Greek. Why I go for myself is wrong. Let's hear what Mr. Daryl has to say.
If you've been involved in the English language, you're probably aware that there are two voices in English. We have the active voice and we have the passive voice. An example of the active voice is the boy hit the ball. Very simple sentence, but the idea is that the boy is the agent, the one doing the action. He hit, that's the verb, the ball. The ball is then the thing that's being hit. Now, the point of...
How can you go from a Christian making
no.
6 figures a year to a kingdom builder making 6 figures a month?
Point of an active verb is that the action affects the object in some way, okay? The action affects the object in some way. So the boy hit the ball, the hitting affects the ball. Pretty simple, right? With the passive voice, it goes the other way. The ball was hit by the boy, okay? So in this case, the ball is the subject. The word was hit, that was hit, that's your passive verb now. And then you have by the boy is telling you who's actually doing the hitting. So in this case, the subject is not the agent doing the work, but is the grammatical subject of the verb was doing or was hitting, and it's being affected by the verb. Okay, so in this case, the ball is affected again by the hitting, but the boy isn't really made into the subject. Okay, that's a passive verb. So in an active verb, it's just simply going in a single direction. It's nice and clear. In a passive verb, the verb is going backwards to the subject. Okay. Now, in Greek, we have those same things as well. We have an active voice and we have a passive voice. Pretty straightforward, and they largely work the same. We even have a number of ways of expressing agency in the passive. So, hupo plus the genitive. By the boy, right? That would be a hupo plus the genitive. So, the middle...
So is it true like there's a passive voice and a active voice in Greek?
Yeah, of course it's true. And actually, to be more precise, it's we have four actually. We have active, we have passive, we have the middle voice, and we have the neutral. So we have four moods and four, let's say, things that shows anyway the agency and whatever. So yeah, and also the way he explained it, it's quite correct. I mean, yeah, this is the truth about the active and the passive voice. And just he make a small mistake there by when he tried to explain the passive voice. This example what he gave, he make a little messed up there. I mean, it was the boy was hit by the ball, and he confused. He said by the boy, by the I think maybe this was a confusion. I mean, a mistake. He didn't. Maybe didn't get the. He didn't was aware of the mistake what he did, and just it was the thing here is yeah, it's true. There is active voice, there is passive, and he will explain us, I guess, the middle voice here. So I'm very curious to see the examples he will use about it.
All right, let's see.
Voice in Greek is a little different to both the active and the passive tense form. The middle voice in Greek has the idea of subject affectedness, okay? And what this really means is that the person who's doing the verb, the agent of the verb, is acting on, to, or for themselves in some way. And that is to say that they've got some personal or vested interest in the action that they are performing. Okay, now somebody once said that this means they have a more direct participation, a more specific involvement, or even some form of benefit for doing the action. That's kind of the idea of the middle voice.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit. So, Sophia, would you agree with what he's saying?
Yeah, middle voice is exactly this. What when a subject is doing his acting, and this action is coming not exactly. It has a concern on himself. Let's say let's say an example in English, I am dressed. So that means I am doing something, and it's this action is coming back to me. So I dress myself, let's say. It's an example of middle voice, this in Greek. So yeah, it's the definition what he gave, it's true.
And let me do the screen share, kind of rewind it a little bit back. Um, so it says, it is best to understand Greek middle voice semantically as expressing more direct participation, specific involvement, or even some form of benefit of the subject doing the action. So it's good.
Yeah, that means exactly this. That it's like it means actually that when we have a verb in the middle voice, that means that it shows that the subject, let's say I am dressed, let's say I do something, and this have what he mean like more direct participation. It's considered like this, that this thing, this action, what I took about to get dressed, it's affecting me, so it's coming back to me. This is what is about the middle voice. To do something, the subject is doing something, and the energy and the thing and the action, it's coming back, it's involve me as well as a subject in this action.
Okay.
The action. That's kind of the idea of the middle voice. Now, if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. That really helps this video out. The key thing here is in the active voice, the agent, the subject of the verb, is doing the action, okay? And it's affecting something else. It's affecting some other thing. Now, in the middle voice, the subject, the one doing the action, is largely doing the action on, to, or for himself. Right? So in English, we might say, for instance, you know, I washed myself, right? Which is to say, I went and took a wash and I acted on myself for that wash. We'd use a reflexive pronoun to convey that idea. In Greek, all they would do is just use the middle voice. I wash myself. Now,
is it true?
Actually, yeah. When we want to say that I got washed, let's say, or I got dressed or whatever, we don't have to use the pronoun, the reflexive one, like how he said, like I wash myself. We don't have to say myself, yourself, or whatever. We just put the verb in the middle voice. Dínομαι. Let's say in Greek it's I get dressed, dínομαι. So εγώ dínομαι. I don't have to say δίνομαι τον εαυτό μου, myself. I dress myself. We just say δίνομαι. So by putting the verb in this middle voice, everybody will understand that I mean that I get dressed by I dress myself. So yeah, he's right in this one.
Okay.
In Greek, you wouldn't have to add myself, a reflexive pronoun, or anything like that. It's all understood to be in that middle voice. And there's a number of words then that really make a lot of sense to use in the middle voice, like verbs of grooming, washing. And we find these verbs of grooming all around the New Testament. For instance, in Mark chapter 7, verse 4, it says there that unless they wash, they do not eat, right? And the idea is it's a middle voice verb, unless they wash themselves.
Let's see. Que ap agoras and mi vaptice uk esti sin. So so basically, is he saying correct things that this is a middle voice? So I'm trying to understand.
Look, quite the meaning here, mi baptizo de uk estius. It's like if, let's say, if they don't get washed, if they don't wash themselves, they will not eat. Something like this is the meaning here. It's look, it's true here. I mean, it's really happening. This baptizo, it has the meaning of to wash myself. And you see, there is not any reflexive pronoun like eafton or eaftus or whatever to show that it's I wash, they wash themselves. By putting this baptizon in this form, we will understand that it's a middle voice. Yeah, it's true here.
Okay. All right, let's continue watching.
Before, they won't eat, right? They won't eat unless they wash. So the middle voice there is just talking about they're washing themselves, their own hands, right? Mark chapter 14, verse 54. Peter, when he was standing by the fire, remember that? When Jesus was on trial and Peter was standing on the fire, he was warming himself. Again, middle voice is used. And again, you don't need a reflexive verb or anything like that, or a reflexive pronoun in Greek. You can just say he was warming, right?
Let's go back. So, could you is so he's saying he's correctly saying about middle voice in this instance?
Look what it will be nice from him to clarify, but he does not say anything about it. It's this term menomenos. It's a participle in grammar. We call them participles because they finish in menos. Whatever we have like this, menos, many, meno for masculine, feminine, and neutral, it's participle in the also in ancient Greek, also in modern Greek. And this means that it's coming from the verb, of course, thermenome, there is a verb, of course, but this is a participle here. Participles, they are considered as a use of, they can be like adjectives. Imagine, let's speak very generally speaking. So that means it can be maybe let's say maybe an adjective, it can be this one, maybe depending on the syntax where it's the position of this word, you can understand what is the use of this word. To be honest, και θερμενόμενος προς το φως, εντάξει, because of course, actually, we didn't check exactly what is happening before. I mean, to understand the syntax exactly. What I get here, it's okay, the translation, of course, in English, it would be this what he's talking about. Like he will translate it as a middle voice, like he was getting hot towards or this light anyway, this fire, light, whatever. But I'm not sure what I'm, and it will be good from him to explain us is if this termenomenos, because it's a participle, okay, the meaning, when he translated in English, it sounds like a middle voice, but I'm not sure if it's really a middle voice, what actually is this word. I mean, it's a participle. There is also participles can have active voice, they can have passive voice and whatever. But the thing here is that what I have the feeling, I didn't check it very good, but the feeling here is that it's like it shows more and how to say, like a way, like oh, he was trying to get warm from or towards this light or from this light. It shows more like how to say, like okay, it's how to say, it's the translation what he give, it's close to a middle voice, but I don't think that it's not the correct approach about it. I'm not sure if we can name this participle a middle voice, because we translate it as a verb, but it's a participle. I mean, I don't know, probably it's helping English this to understand the middle voice. The translation what he give, it's helping the English people to understand, this is a middle voice. But actually, it's a translation that we don't have exactly how to say it. I mean, it will sound, if we translate it, will sound like a middle voice, like he was getting hot, something like that. It was the translation. Or he is getting hot, actually. It's present tense, this one. He is getting hot. And it's, I don't think, I'm not sure about, he should tell us about that this is a participle and it's not a direct verb. I mean, I don't know why he don't mention this, because verbs, I mean, they have a specific form. You can recognize, this is a verb, this is a participle, this is an adjective, this is a noun. He should say that this is a participle. because I mean, he started the whole video by speaking about verbs, the verbs, the voices, the subject, the object. He should say that this is a participle, and probably he should make a little more detailed research, because participles, it's a huge chapter for the ancient Greek. I mean, they can be anything. The participles, they can be adjectives, sorry, objects, subjects, any kind of thing they can be. So I'm not so sure if this is a correct example to explain us about the middle voice.
Okay, let's continue watching.
Anything like that, or a reflexive pronoun in Greek, you can just say he was warming, right? And you use the middle voice, and it's clear that he was warming himself. He was cold, and so he was just getting warm by putting his hands out or standing by the fire or whatever it happened to be. Then, of course, there's places like Acts chapter 12, verse 21, where it talks about Herod having clothed himself. And again, in English, we use a reflexive pronoun, but in Greek, we don't need to. We just use the middle voice. He clothed. And then it tells us kind of how he clothed himself, what he wore, and so on and so forth. The idea of adding himself or herself or the reflexive pronoun generally is not something we need in Greek. It's really just an English thing. But sometimes you'll find Greek authors will add a reflexive pronoun anyway. And this is part of the Koine period and the language just getting simplified, and often the nuances of things like the middle voice being lost on foreign speakers, people who aren't speaking the language, and they're not native to Greek, so they might lose some of those nuances and the language just gets simplified. And so that's something.
Is it true that the language was simplified?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, it's true, because you can, from the text that we have from each period of time, I mean, from the passing the years and different authors were writing and rewriting ancient texts, and anyway, they were making some additions. So also you can check from the New Testament, some of the texts that we saw, some verses, we found some things in brackets, right? Some different versions, eafton, eaftis. You find some different versions. These are additional things that different authors wrote in specific period of times. And yeah, what he said here is that slowly the language, because it started to become more simple, slowly this middle voice started maybe to not to be so easy and so recognizable, let's say, and that's why they started to add also the reflexive pronouns and after the verbs, probably to add this eafton, eaftis, this to show them myself, yourself. This is true what he say.
Times why we have a reflexive pronoun even when we already have a middle voice verb. That brings us to the question of deponent verbs. Now, I've talked about deponency on this channel in the past, and if you're interested in more detail on that, click this link up here and you'll jump over to that video. Deponent verbs we don't really refer to deponent verbs today. Grammars that still write about deponent verbs really should not be writing about deponent verbs. Scholars largely agree that deponent verbs are really not a thing. I'll let you watch the video for more details. Here's the thing. We used to think of a deponent verb as a verb that was active in meaning but middle in form. Okay, we think of it in English as an active verb even though it appears as a middle verb. And what we're saying today is no, actually, it's a middle form because it is middle in meaning. But what about...
What do you think about those statements?
Look, we do have also in modern Greek the deponent verbs. These deponent verbs means that they have as a form, they look like they have a passive form, but the meaning is active. So they have a passive form, like they are in a passive voice, but the meaning is that they are in the active voice. One good example for this is the verb to become. In Greek is γίνομαι. Εγώ γίνομαι. I become. This γίνομαι, because it has this me in the end, shows that it's like in a passive voice. But the meaning of it's in an active voice. So what he says here that I'm not so sure if it's true or not, this, because I didn't hear it again, but maybe he checked it somewhere. I don't know. He said that these deponent verbs they are considered as a middle voice. Because they have this specific characterized to be a passive in the form, but to have an active in their meaning. I'm not sure. He should say. I mean, which one he was his resource about it, at least. But I'm not sure. Probably it's true. I mean, what he said about deponent verbs, it's really happening. They have a passive form, but an active meaning.
Okay, let's hear it.
With words like peruamai. Like I mentioned, in one of our
Paruvomai, paruvomai, paruvomai. Okay.
classes
I
recently,
guess this is Erasmus accent, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
no.
Okay.
someone asked, shouldn't I translate this as I go for myself or I take myself somewhere? The thing is, we don't have any active forms of this in the Greek New Testament anywhere. So the Greek
Is it true? No.
Um, uh, Look, I'm not so aware if it's if we cannot find an active voice of this porevome anyway. It's there is a word porevo, and I mean you can make the active voice from porevome, passive voice. You can make the active porevo. To be honest, it's not so. For the modern Greek, for sure, is not so used. I mean, we don't use this verb in an active voice. Always we use this porevome. I go, I travel, I transfer something. Anyway, it's what he tried to say is that it's even if it looks like in a passive voice this verb, he's wondering if it's the meaning is like I go for myself or I go myself. Eh, when I say I go, I travel, ego porevome, of course it's about myself. Who will be? I go, I do that. The thing is that. Um, Taxi, I think it's this one, the way how he tried to say, I can agree that this is a middle voice because it's more close to the definition what we gave for middle voice, that it's an I act, a subject is giving an action, and this action is affecting me. So in this definition, yeah, it could be this one middle voice.
Okay.
forms of this in the Greek New Testament anywhere. So the active form doesn't appear. However, it does appear in some older texts. So in Plato, for instance, peruo is an active form that does appear in some of those earlier Attic texts. And when we find it there, it doesn't mean I go. It means I convey. And so when we look at this,
I convey or I go.
Look, what he said here is that in Plato, in Platonas, in the more ancient Greek, let's say, the ancient Greek before the New Testament and all these things, he said that we found in Plato some, the form porevo, the active one. And he said that this word didn't have the meaning of I go somewhere. It had the meaning convey or transfer, we could say, because this, I think, more close this one. Anyway, it's the thing is that if we really had this active form, let's say, probably it wasn't used later on the years. Probably it's gone this active form, and we kept only this passive form, porevome, that meant something else. Let's say it's just slightly changed a little the meaning. Porevome, like I go myself, I travel or whatever. If he can say truth here. I mean, it's true what he said, that there used to be an active voice, but slowly because it's gone, we don't use it anymore, or it's not. The meaning maybe didn't help anymore the people to use this word like this. We kept only the passive form of it.
Okay, let's hear it.
in the middle voice, if we're going to say I convey myself, peruamai is a very logical way of expressing that. The middle voice has subject affectedness, and therefore to bring it into the middle voice to say I travel or I go makes total sense. And we can see the same kind of logic with erkamai.
Let's see. Paruvo, and paruvome. Paruvome.
Porevo,
Porevemo.
porevome.
Porevome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is he correct on this one? Like, or
Yeah, it's like this. The active voice, it's I convey, let's say, I go, I travel, I do something. Porevome, it's the passive, let's say, the thing what I am, that's passive, the middle anyway. It has a passive form, porevome, as a grammatically, but as a meaning, it's a middle voice. Like I go, I take myself somewhere, let's say. This is the thing of the middle voice. Yeah, it's true what he says. It makes sense.
okay.
As well. So the point here is to say that really these deponent verbs, the active form may not be as common, but that doesn't mean to say they are totally unused. And it could be that in some cases these deponent verbs are really ready to be used and we should expect to see them somewhere, but maybe not in the New Testament corpus. Anyway, the point is that middle verbs, verbs that are middle only because something about the middle voice is inherent to the meaning of that verb, even if we're not always certain how that works. So, that's a quick look at the...
So what do you think so far? Like overall speaking, like is he explaining correct?
Um, uh, Look, to be honest, it's for someone. Okay, let's say this video is addressing to someone, let's say, who is making he's trying to exercise himself on New Testament. I mean, he's what is to who he addressed this guy? He addressed to people that they have to do with the New Testament. Probably they try to understand better what they read. And he tried to explain a grammar chapter here about the middle voice. To be honest, what he says, it's most of it. I mean, almost all of it. It's making sense. It could be more helpful for him to provide more examples, probably, to make it more clear, and also to check a little this with the participles, because two examples that he showed us, it was both the participles there. And I am wondering if this is a good way to explain, because you see, he based the whole video in this porevome, that it's a verb, and the examples what he gave, it's participles. I mean, why he didn't show us verbs to explain us, in this situation, this verb, it's a middle voice. This is a little my concern, why he didn't find some verbs to show that this is a middle voice here, guys. I mean, I don't know why because I told you the participles, they are translated like this in English, but in English is translated. He should find verbs to justify this middle voice, what he talked about.
Okay, actually, I have another video for us to watch, kind of like a surprise. But before
Oh,
that, but
yeah,
before that,
yeah,
question. I know
yeah.
you have already many students who started from zero, like
Mm,
not knowing alphabet, not
sure.
knowing diphthongs, could not
Hmm.
read. And how long would you say for a person takes to learn how to read um, Kini Greek, like first century Greek?
You mean for a total beginner, right?
Yeah,
Um,
from stall zero.
Yeah. Okay. This, of course, it has to do with the person, right? How much you will study, how much focus you are when you study. It's on the person and on the character of each one.
Let's just
But
say
basically,
let's just say if you have 5 days, 30 minutes per day, can you able to read Kini Greek?
with the Erasmus accent or the modern Greek accent?
I guess
It's a
well,
thing here.
more of a real Greek, modern Greek.
The real Greek. No. Okay, you know what? Of course, actually, I think, let's say how you say, 5 days, half minutes, sorry, 30 minutes. Okay, yeah, you can do it. I mean, it's the alphabet, okay, if it's different from the English one, but if you focus and you are, you can just make to stay focused there. You can do it. I mean, it's not totally. Okay. It's a different alphabet, of course, but it's depends on you. I mean, anybody can learn with a different pace. Someone can learn fast, someone easy. It depends. I believe that whoever wants to learn, he will learn.
Okay.
I mean, that's it.
I want, because to me it's like actually I'm gonna show this on a screen real quick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because like usually, at least according to Google, it takes about 44 weeks just to become proficient
Wow.
slash and interesting things that Greek is among the hardest languages for English speakers to learn, according to the
Mm-hmm.
studies conducted by the U.S. Department of State. So, I mean, it's like, and let's just think of like what he's promising. Like, is actually doable? So let's hear it.
Mm-hmm.
A challenge is going to work. And so the purpose of this challenge is to get you from knowing zero Greek, not even knowing the alphabet, to being able to do some basic translation in just 5 days. That's our challenge. And by doing just a little bit every day, we're going to be able to get you from nothing to doing some basic translation. And it gets really exciting because the translation we're going to ask you to do is actually material from the New Testament. So you're going to be able to translate some really basic text from the New Testament very quickly. This is going to be pretty cool. Let me break this down for you. Over the 5 days, we're going to do some really short, basic exercises. Okay. On day one, we're just going to do the simple task of learning the alphabet. It's not going to take very long. You're just going to write it out. You're going to learn how it forms. You're going to learn the sounds, and that's pretty much it. On day two, we're going to talk about sounding out some of the more complex elements of Greek, such as diphthongs. And then I'm going to get you to actually sound out words, read them out loud, so that you know how the alphabet sounds. We're also going to talk a little bit about punctuation, syllabification, and a number of little things like that along the way. Now, in case you're wondering, when it comes to pronunciation, well, I use the Erasmian pronunciation system, and that's what I'm going to encourage you to use in this challenge. But if you don't want to use that, of course, that's fine. I don't really mind. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. So
The only thing is that if you're going from zero Greek, how you gonna use modern Greek if you don't know any Greek at all?
No, I mean, no, he say you can use any accent, but he will use the Erasmian accent anyway. So, no, how he supposed the student to know which is the modern Greek? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no,
And
it's who
by
knows,
the way,
man.
like diphthongs, at least for me, it took a couple of weeks to, I guess, learn a bunch of combinations, and especially
Yeah.
some of them able to identify within a word. Like, is it doable, like,
Hmm.
to learn? Well, alphabet, yes, I would say alphabet. It's can be learned within
Yeah,
one
no,
day.
no, no.
But what
Hmm.
about diphthongs? I mean, do you know how many total diphthongs are in Greek?
Oh, I'm not aware, but we can let me think quick. Λοιπόν, ένα, δύο, τρία, τέσσερα, τέσσερα, πέντε, έξι. If I say correct, between 6 or 7, something like that.
Okay,
It's but
six.
for only vowels, huh? I didn't speak about the consonants. Yeah, vowels, diphthongs. Yeah, around this. Yeah, 6 or 7. I'm not so sure. But look, what is happening? What and what we should focus in this? What he just said here.
Hmm.
Okay, look, 5 days challenge. Okay. Again, it depends on the pace of someone. I mean, someone can need more time to learn the alphabet. A student will need 1 hour, another student will need 5 hours, another student will need. I have me also as a teacher, as a tutor. I have so many, different students that they learn with different ways. I mean, it's someone will learn very fast, someone will learn more easy. So he cannot give guarantee to you that in 5 days you will learn. I mean, he cannot. You have
Hmm.
you to be sure about yourself. And he said that I will use the Erasmus accent, and it doesn't matter for you. It doesn't matter for you which one you will use. So it doesn't matter. It's okay. why we are learning Erasmus if we have already a modern Greek one, if it doesn't matter?
But honestly, like with this type of logic, you can say, you know what, Erasmus, modern Greek, who cares? I can just pronounce however Greek I wanted to if with this type of logic.
I mean, yeah, it's true, and this is what it surprised me here. I mean, he said I will use the Erasmus accent, but for you, Tax, it doesn't matter. It's not like it's not so important. So if it's not like this, if it's not important, why we don't use the accent that everybody speaks, at least in Greece? So we will learn also some Greek sometime.
Yeah, I
Probably.
mean, just like to me, it boggles my mind. It's like the person just, as far as I can tell from this video, going from zero Greek to able to read and translate, and I'm just like, and it doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna use Erasmus, and you can do
You
whatever
can
you
use
want to
any
do.
accent. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
no.
can pronounce however you wanted to. Who cares? Kind of like that. But
Okay, if he have some multiple, he have the alphabet, the Greek alphabet in multiple versions, choose which version sounds better to you guys. I don't know. No.
all right, let's continue watching him.
Hmm.
All right, let's hear it.
In the first couple of days, it's really just about the alphabet and sounding out words. On day 3, our goal is really to start you learning vocabulary. So you're going to learn some basic words and you're going to talk through how to set up the tools that I recommend and use inside Master New Testament Greek so that you're able to get those up and running and then actually learn some words. And that means when you come to the following day, on day 4, you're going to have a little bit of translation work to do and you won't need to look any words up because, well, you'll know them. And that's going to be pretty cool. Day 4, and you're already doing just a little bit of translation. The other thing we're going to talk about on day 4 is first declension words, what the patterns look like. We're going to talk a little bit about the article. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that on day.
Oh yeah,
Like we're going to talk.
could you explain us IMI and
Imi.
yeah.
No. Imi, anyway.
IMI.
It's imi, the verb, not imi.
Mm-hmm.
Imi is the verb to be. This is the meaning. The verb to be in ancient Greek. So if I guess correct, he will tell us how to form this verb, and what he means as pattern, I'm not so sure. But probably he will just talk about this specific verb, the different forms, probably the present tense, the past tense. Who knows? Something like that.
And how many do you think words a person can learn like within a day? Like even like okay, after 30 minutes of his teaching, like what's like maximum would you say? Like for example, even Sophia, for you, like when you started learning English, how many
No.
words in English were you able to learn like in a day?
In a day,
Mm-hmm.
or in 1 hour.
Well, in one
Look,
hour. I mean, like,
in
so
one
you can
hour.
go
No,
back
no.
to next day and able to translate, as he said.
Look what I think is happening here. Look, Tax, just to answer to your question, of course.
Mm-hmm.
For example, for my students, that I have many that they are total beginners, and we are doing now a 1 hour lesson. Okay, let's say the first lesson for them, I teach them. I really do what I do in this 1 hour. I teach them the alphabet, and we start also some basic vocabulary. This is the first lesson. In 1 hour, we can learn also the alphabet, the sounds, and vocabulary around actually 24, because it's 24 the letters, 24 words. This is what I do. But point, there is a small here thing to remember, that not everybody will learn it. I mean, there is people that they will learn them all at in 1 hour, they will remember everything perfectly. Other people, they will remember half of it, other nothing of it. So it depends on the person, absolutely. Now, what I think is happening with this guy here is that he will show you the alphabet, okay, what he said, the punctuation. I don't remember the third day, which is some vocabulary, I think he said.
Uh-huh,
No,
vocabulary.
some
Yeah.
vocabulary, no. And okay, he will give me, I guess, a list. Okay, this vocabulary I have to learn in day 4, right? And in the next day, he will give me a text that has this specific vocabulary. So
Exactly.
I read it, I get happy. Ah, no, I know these words. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, and after when I really open an unknown text, maybe I will recognize, who knows, maybe there will be some of the words that I learned in that day three. I mean, probably I meet something,
Mm-hmm.
but I will not be able, of course, to translate it. I mean, maybe I will recognize an article, something as a word. Okay, but I will not be expert, of course, right? I mean, okay, 5 days challenge, not to translate, but to learn some basic things. This is
Yeah,
what he should say,
yeah, because like to me
probably.
it's like almost like a kind of bait and switch, or giving somebody like I know like martial arts, like
Mm.
I do like martial arts and stuff, and like sometimes you have this, in 5 days you will learn how to
Nah,
defend
nah.
yourself. And in reality, is this? It's like a false assurance. Like there's no way you can learn any martial art in 5 days. I mean, it's just
You can
you can
start
start.
something,
Yeah.
but not to learn, of course. It's like, it's remind me this that, oh, in 2 weeks you can lose 20 kilos. Really? I will. And if I drink one water, or one glass of water, I will take back these kilos probably. This
Mm-hmm.
is what is. I think that he just, he could say just that, okay, you will have some basic knowledge, or you will start to have a basic or something. You will start from somewhere, not to name it that, it's a 5 days challenge and you will learn to be a translator. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's a false advertisement, and to me, it seems like,
yeah.
yeah, you said it yourself. Like, I would, this is what I think would happen. He would give, let's just say, 15 words,
Bravo,
15
ναι.
words, and but those words, all those 15 words will appear in like one or two sentences,
Mm.
and you like, oh, I can translate two sentences.
I
However,
recognize, ναι. Mhm.
recognize, yes, yes, or like memorization, like when I just came to United States, sometimes to me, like for example, in English, for example, do, like even though spells do, I was like, why is it pronounced do instead of do, or
Ναι, ναι,
instead
ναι.
of hot, it's actually pronounced hot. So to
Mhm.
me, it was just like I had to almost like memorize, even though
Ναι.
the how I would.
The way of writing, it was a different. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think like what is happening is that he already give you like specific vocabulary of 15 words, and those 15 words will appear the next day, which the
Exactly,
person
yeah.
able to
Mhm.
translate. And I mean, how would you explain, is the Greek sentence structure, or like I say, Kini sentence structure, is way different from English, or you can like,
Sure.
sure, but like let's just
Yeah.
say with some what if I pull up like easy sentences, like for example, repent and believe the gospel, like would it be way different in Kini?
Um, Probably in also in ancient Greek, also in Kini anyway. There is a tendency to, there is not always the structure. Also in modern, what we have in modern Greek, I mean, it's not the same in ancient Greek. Imagine, not English. The modern Greek is not the same structure with ancient Greek. There
Mm-hmm.
is a tendency that the subject maybe is in the end of the sentence. It's happening so often. This, I mean, the subject we know, I do this and this. I is the first is the subject in the beginning of the sentence. In ancient Greek, it's happening to say all the other things, blah, 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 I, in the end, the subject. So, yes, it's if I get it correct, what you're trying to say is that, and it's correct what you say, you cannot learn the whole grammar and the syntax and the structure of words and the meaning, because it's not only the meaning. I learned this word means book. Okay. And if I find it in a plural form, if I find it in another case, nominative, genitive, accusative, I will recognize it. We don't know. We need more days, not 5 days only, for sure.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like, to be honest, like if he would be an honest, I would say like 5 day challenge, able to read and translate two sentences uh, of Kini Greek, that would be maybe more like realistic. Would you say that? Like,
You mean some random? You mean to learn you some things and or no?
but not even random. Like honestly, like because seems like because the Greek vocabulary is huge, and on top of this, like I notice suffix changes. Like today
Of
was
course, yeah.
Catalavenete, Catalavenu.
No.
Like it's just the ending of the word changes a lot. And I was like, I mean,
Yeah.
also it's like create like a creator, demiurgis. I already forgot,
The
but
creator,
yeah,
Demiurgos.
demiurgos and creating, like creator created.
Demiurgia. Demiurgia, the creation.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Here we go. Creator created creation. How would you say that?
Ο δημιουργός, δημιουργεί, δημιουργία.
So yeah, but the point is that it's like there's no way in 5 days somebody can learn uh, you
For
know
sure, if what I understand is that it's 5 days challenge of learning the things what he will give. It's not 5 days of learning everything. I mean, he
hmm
will give you these specific things. You will, if you learn them, if you learn them, if let's say you are focused and dedicated and you would follow these lessons and you learn them, okay, you learned a small piece in the puzzle. That is what you did. Only this.
Yep, it's kind of I don't know if my viewers or you have you heard of a video game Call of Duty,
Yeah.
and actually in Modern Warfare I think it's 2 or 3 I forgot. There's what's some soldiers who fighting against you. They speak Russian, and their vocabulary is actually very small. Like перезаряжаюсь, meaning reload. Кидаю гранату, I'm throwing a grenade. Uh, я
It's based on the context of the game, you mean? It's only
Exact,
this
exactly.
vocabulary.
It's
Ne,
like
ne, ne.
me and a friend of mine playing, and I tell them like, for example, when they say "кидаю гранату," it means I'm throwing a grenade. When the what's the name the soldiers, the opposite team will tell you "обхожу справа," meaning I will what's the name flank them from the right. So
Okay.
it's like few words here and there, and instead of me saying, "Hey, I will teach you Russian in 5 days," no, I will teach you few words that is in a video game that is specifically
Ne.
played. Just like this Daryl right there, he could have been maybe more honest about instead of like almost like boosting someone's ego, maybe, or giving some false confidence. Like I said, it's kind of like you will not able to translate at random the New Testament in 5 days. It's just you
Of
know.
course not, but it's a good start. I mean, it's good for someone to start, you know. He
Mhm.
will start from the alphabet, from the vocabulary. Of course, he have to start from somewhere.
Mhm.
But of course, yeah, you cannot translate anything. Only the text that he will give you. This is that probably you will be able to translate. Huh? I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, I think it's this. But anyway, the false advertisement is everywhere anyway. So what you get and what is advertised is two different things.
Yeah. Well, let's see the end. Like, see, like, I guess what's the
Yeah, sure.
conclusion of it?
No.
A little bit about the article. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that on day 3 as well. And we're going to start you on some basic grammar. Very, very basic, not too hard. And like I said, on day 4, you're going to be able to do a little bit of translation, identify word endings, and how they're making a difference in the sentence. And then on day 5, we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about some of the other kinds of forms we see in the New Testament. And again, you're going to have,
Oh,
we're
what's
going to
that?
talk in a
Genitive and dative and second declension. Could you explain this
Yeah.
to us?
Yeah, genitive and dative, it's cases. In Greek, we have cases. Also in Russian, we do. So you can, you know this about. It's a different form of the same word. So Genitive is mostly used when you want to put the word in a situation when you want to show that something belongs to this person. So this is the genitive case, when you want to say that something belongs to someone. Um, uh, and dative, it's not anymore. It's only in ancient Greek. We don't have it anymore in modern Greek. So it's just a different form. So this is what you talked about, that the same word, it has different suffixes and different forms, and how we will be able to recognize after this 5 days challenge. And this is what he will do. He's saying the fifth day. He will explain us some cases, the genitive and the dative, that it's very, very they are common. Anyways, not only genitive and dative. You can find also the nominative, the accusative. I mean, all the cases are important, and you can maybe you will meet them, right? I mean, it's good though. It's good that he will explain us. But these are things, and also the second declension, what he says. That means because the verbs are in some groups, let's say first, second, and whatever. It's how we will form the group of the second group of the verbs. And I mean, I don't know if anyone will really in 1 hour he will understand. You need to practice them a lot on your own. These things. It's too much. It's too many suffixes, too many things to understand. Especially here that you have to mix genitive and dative that has to do with nouns and whatever, nouns mostly, and second declension that has to do with verbs. So in 1 day you will learn 2 cases of nouns, the second, how to form the second group of the verbs, and you will get really confused if you don't stay on your own to study them. It's too much things, this. I don't know how, and probably he will give 1, 2 examples for each to help you, because how much he cannot say the whole grammar in 1 hour. I don't know how many minutes is the lesson.
Actually,
Uh,
30 minutes. It's actually 30 minutes
Even
later
there,
on.
oh, I thought it's 1 hour. At least he could say something. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's if just to say to explain what is genitive, dative, and this second declension, he just it's gone the half hour just to explain you what is these things and give you one or two examples to help you understand. But the thing is happening here that genitive and dative, it's way different for masculines, feminines, neutrals. I mean, you cannot cover all these things in half an hour. You should do a lot of work on your own after. I mean, people that will do this thing, they should be aware that they have to practice a lot more hours. This one, he will give you the idea that, this is what is happening. After, you have to learn it and check on your own. I mean, it's too much things, this one, to cover in half an hour.
Okay, let's hear the rest of.
Yeah.
A little bit more detail about some of the other kinds of forms we see in the New Testament. And again, you're going to have some more basic translation to do. The goal of these 5 days is really simple. Like I said, is to get you from knowing nothing to being able to do some basic translation in just 5 days. Now, let me pause for a moment.
Yes, let's pause for a moment. What do you think about that? Because like we're pretty much almost done. So, I mean, is that
Look,
possible? And Kini, we're talking about Kini Greek. We're not talking about.
It's a little more difficult when we speak about Kine, because now the modern Greek is considered to be a more simplified language, right? So there it's more complicated, the things. What I think is that whoever will try to do this 5 challenge, or he will get very excited and a fire will be inside him, like, oh, I want more and more, and he will study on your own, or he will be totally scared. He will be, what is all these things in 5 days? Like, it's too much. I don't understand nothing. And I mean, it depends on the person, really. If someone really wants to take it serious, I suggest that if he wants to do his own research, his own, to find books, to do some courses maybe, or to go to a teacher probably, that he will guide him step by step, not 5 days challenge, not miracles in 1 hour or half an hour, just proper lessons. If someone really wants to learn, to do real translations and understanding the text, right? I mean, if you just want to learn a few vocabulary and a few grammar just to be able to recognize a very limited, a specific text, okay, this is very good for you. But if you want to really start to have a proper knowledge, and be able slowly, you need time. And of course, you need to work on your own. This is my opinion here.
All right, let me just show people if they want to find Sophia and take classes. It's actually preply.com. You can go there and um, you can find Sophia. Let me try to get to Sophia's page. Some reason just Preply all of a sudden don't wanna. There we go. Lessons. So we have Sophia, and if you go to her page, you can find her on preply.com, and I guess that's it. Have a nice